It's certainly important to remember that introverts are not necessarily shy and extroverts are not necessarily always outgoing.
So one major difference between these two temperaments comes down to how their energy is gained. Joining us to talk more about these differences, relationship expert Dr. Kirsten Lind Seal. I guess I didn't know that. I assumed like introvert and extrovert. And what do you mean when you say how energy is gained?
Yeah, so this is what I see a lot clinically, and I have to say that the research is a little mixed on this, and so there's some disagreements about what makes an introvert, what makes an extrovert. I will say that what I often see with couples, and this really shows up in conflict, is that introverts really kind of get energy from being alone. So they need more alone time, generally speaking, than extroverts do. Extroverts tend to gain their energy from being with other people. And you'll notice this because, so think about yourself or the people you know. When you go to a party, you know, someone who's an introvert is probably going to be having a really fine time for maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour, but then they're going to get tired and they would like to go home, or they maybe want to go like rest in the back room. Whereas an extrovert will just sort of get more and more excited as the party goes on because they get their energy from the social, from socializing, basically. It doesn't mean that introverts don't like to socialize. It's just that their window of wanting to do that tends to be much smaller than that of an extrovert.
Because like you said, on the flip side of that, you can be an introvert and still not want to be around people, and you can be an extrovert, and I mean, you can be I said that right? Introvert,
yeah,
and you can be an introvert and want to be around people. You can be an extrovert and not want to be around people. There we go. Wires crossed.
Exactly. Well, I know it can be a little counterintuitive but I've had multiple clients say to me things like, you know, well, I know that I've sort of am more of an introvert, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to be around people, or that I don't want to, you know, go out to dinner or have lunch with friends or whatever. And that's the thing that I think we need to understand. There's sort of more nuance in this picture. Something else that happens though that's really interesting is that in times of conflict, generally speaking, and I think of this as the brain to mouth pathway, extroverts tend to have a much quicker pathway. So they'll you know, things will be going on and they'll sort of be able to say them more quickly, and they tend to want to start right away and sort of unpack the argument or talk about the conflict. Whereas people who are more introverted are often say things like, I just, you know what, I have to think about this. The processing is different, and their brain to mouth sort of pipeline tends to be longer and slower. So it's not that introverts are, you know, less smart than extroverts. It's just that they process differently. And this, as you can imagine, can lead to some real conflict with couples when they don't understand that we're talking about a basic temperamental difference between people.
I appreciate that example because I think it makes sense to put it in those kinds of terms there. So if that is your scenario, or let's say, you know, when you come home from work, somebody really wants to talk and somebody really doesn't, what do you do about that?
Right, so this is where communication is so important, because ideally what you do is talk about it outside of the time when you're just home from work, because when you just get home from work and you really need some just downtime, alone time, you need to lie down, you need to just look at the news, or you need to just listen to some music, then it's better to have that conversation another time. So maybe in the morning, maybe on the weekend, and just talk about what happens when you come home. This is something that I see so much when I'm working with couples, is people, because the person who's at home sort of excited, and even if both people come back from their jobs, one person is probably wanting more to talk about the day right away, and the other person usually wants more time. This is, you know, the opposites attract stereotype is I actually find to be pretty true, or at least of the couples that show up in my practice, because I guess if you're not having this struggle, you won't show up in my office. But what I would say is to have that conversation, and literally for the person who needs time to say, look, I love you, I want to hear about your day, and I just need a pause for myself to calm, to self-soothe, to just take a little time. I like the phrase, I need to take some space. It's not, I don't want to see you or I don't want to talk to you. It's, I need some space. And talking about it as a temperamental difference is really important. You know, the Gottmans, who do all this great relationship research, they say that something like 67% of all problems between couples are unsolvable. And this is what I would say, this is an unsolvable problem. This is about your different temperaments. It's not whether you want to go have Thai food or stay in and, you know, make pasta, right? Like that's a solvable problem. What should we have for dinner? An unsolvable problem is also, like, one person's late, one person's early. Yeah. So the question is how you manage that. That's That's really the task. And so if you can look at it that way, I think it becomes much more hopeful.
And you got to have the conversation to begin with, to acknowledge that there is an issue to begin with. Kirsten, as always, we appreciate your time and your insight. Thank you.